Welcome to another summer edition of Meet the Warrior football program. I'm Sports Information Director Jeff Weiss, and joined today by Linebackers coach Keith McKenzie. Thanks for taking time to be with us today, Coach.
No problem, no problem.
Last year we lost two veteran players in Mo Davenport and Ed Viverette to graduation. You still have Norris Friday coming back. Tell us what you expect from Norris and maybe some of the young guys at the linebacker positions this year.
Okay, Norris has had a strong spring. Had a really good spring, and seen him lately. He's looking really good in shape, like he's ready to go for senior season. It's a big year for him.
Middle linebacker, obviously, you had a young guy, Anthony DeDamos, played a little bit at the end of last year. A little bit young at the Mike position. What would you expect from Anthony this year?
I expect growing pains a little growing pains, but he had a pretty good spring, and he got banged up a little bit at the beginning of spring, but he fought through it, and he came back, and he had a really good spring game. He's taken over that role as a Mike backer. He's taken over the role as a defensive leader on the field. Like I said, it's going to be some growing pains, but I think he's going to have a pretty good year. He's a solid year. He's a very strong kid. He's finally starting to do a lot of the things I want him to do on the field, and when he finally turns it loose, I think he's going to become a great player, become an animal out there.
One of the biggest surprises during the spring game was Florian Cunningham moving up from safety to one of the outside backer position. I think he had like 2 interceptions in the spring game. Yeah. Obviously, he adjusted well to the change of positions.
Yeah, he adjusted well. He's still adjusting. There's a lot of things that at safety he didn't have to deal with, but he has to deal with at linebacker. You know, things get up on you pretty quick at linebacker, and safety, at least he has some opportunity to see and be able to adjust, of course. And he really doesn't have to take on too many tackles at safety. But here, you know, at the wheel linebacker position, he has to get off a lot of blocks, and he's doing well. Like I said, he's another kid that's going to be, I'm not going to say a work in progress. He needs to get more experience from him. But he has a lot of tools, and I think he's going to have a pretty good year.
One of the redshirt freshmen a year ago that's also playing time and also on punt coverage was Azeez Hottie. How did he do in spring? What do you expect for him this fall?
Azeez has had a pretty good. He had a pretty good spring. Since he's got here, I've been putting a lot on that kid's plate. As a true freshman, a couple of times we brought him up just for repetition type deal, and just for practice, and had him going back from Will to Mike to Sam. So he has a pretty good feel for the Mike and Sam position. He earned the spot. He earned the right to be our Okie Mike in our third down sub package. So, you know, Azeez is going to have a good year. I expect a good year out of him. Like I said, a lot of these guys are young. They really don't have a lot of playing experience, especially Azeez. He's one of those guys that, you talk about growing pains, he hadn't really started to grow, you know, because he hadn't really got much reps last year. I think he might have got some reps in one game. But he's got a lot of ability. He has a knack of getting to the ball, and he's a smart player. So, you know, big things. I'm expecting big things. I'm expecting the kid to go out to play hard and make plays, and continue to progress and get better.
Another outside linebacker who's been in the program for a number of years is Marcel Jones. Yeah. He's seen a lot at special teams, but he seemed to work his way into the rotation a little bit more last year.
Yeah, it was great to see Marcel finally start to turn over and click and get it and started to play like I wanted him to play. This spring was his absolute best spring he's ever had. Him and Valorian were battling for that starting position. And right now, the way things are shaking out and the way I would love to have it during the season, I'd love to have those guys playing 50-50 like I had Steve Rochelle and Norris Friday playing for a few years. And I think it will make those guys better football players. I think they will have more production and allow them to play a lot harder for a longer period of time. You know, like I said, one thing about Valorian, the fact that he hasn't really played linebacker during the season, he just had a spring to do it. And the pounding and the physical part that hadn't been used to, being the fact that he's never really played linebacker at all, you know, that's where Marcel comes in, because it affords me the opportunity not to play Valorian the whole game and watch him get wore down as the season goes. So, but those two guys should make a nice 1-2 punch.
This past February, we signed 6 young men to provide depth at linebacker. You have to be excited about what that group brings. Let's talk about a few of them, like Carterius Carter, Thomas Jones, Randy Garvin. We'll get on to the other 3 here in a minute.
Okay. We'll start with Kateris. Kateris is a kid that I can't say he's going to be the next Edgar Barrett, but we looked at him as having that type of ability that Ed had coming out of high school. He has to earn his title, who he's going to be, and all that. But he has a lot of ability. He's a kid that can play. He's a really good football player, but he just has to start to grow into his position. He's been a linebacker. He's kind of undersized. He's not a real big kid. So a year or two in the program, when hitting the weights, giving Coach Mendoza should help him out. But he has a lot of ability, and he has a really good knack for fighting the football. And to get a chance to watch him play last year against like a Cash Tech, which has a pretty good football team, and watch him do as well as he did in that game and make a lot of plays, validates what we really thought about.
Very high potential then.
Yeah.
Thomas Jones is a local kid that you signed maybe as a Mike linebacker or something like that. What did you see in Thomas out of high school?
Well, Thomas, originally coming out of high school, going into his senior year, he was committed to go to Bowling Green. And towards the end, they dropped him, and we were able to slide in and pick him up. I've been watching Thomas for a few years over at Chandler Park, and he's been a kid that made a lot of plays, big time Mike linebacker, and that's what we think. I think the kid has a lot of big time potential. He has a lot of big time playmaking ability, and also he's a physical player. But the kid, he has to get into the program. He still has to buy into what I'm coaching, and I think he's going to be a good one. But time will tell. He might be one of those guys that can come in and fill that role as a backup Mike or whatever, as a true freshman. We'll play as a true freshman, but I'm gonna let those kids sort it out. Those freshmen that we're coming in, those kids will sort it out. Who's going to play and who's going to get redshirted.
Sounds like camp's going to be exciting.
Yeah.
You also have Randy Garvin and Dustin Carlin coming in.
I'm really excited about Randy and Dustin. Dustin is a very smart kid, and when I got a chance to watch his film, it's big play after big play after big play. So he's really not as big as Thomas Jones. He has ability. He needs a year in the weight room probably, and but he's very intriguing because he has a lot of good intangibles and he's very smart. And one thing about our Mike linebacker position, you have to have some intelligence to play that position because we put a lot on that plate. As far as alignment, getting people lined up, changing blitzes, calling blitzes, or an adjustment with the lineman, and making sure that the front is set correctly.
It's almost like the general of the defense.
Yes, basically.
Then you were talking about Randy Garvin.
Randy Garvin, he's a Rockford kid, and Anthony Damos is another Rockford kid, but I think Randy is coming in a lot more seasoned than Anthony. Randy played behind the ball a lot more than Anthony did in high school, and Randy has a great knack of getting to the ball. He comes from a great program. He's another kid that could possibly be a kid that could play as a true freshman. But like I said, I don't know who those kids going to be because they're going to have to sort themselves out in camp, and they have to show that it's nothing given to you at this program, especially on this defense. You got to earn it. And especially at the linebacker position, one of the things I've been, hung my hat on is that the best player will play, and people earn their playing time. And those freshmen coming in, they're gonna have to do that. And Randy, I think he has a leg up. He's been hanging around here. I heard he's been down here, working out with the guys, having a good time. So, hopefully he gets himself ready to go.
On the outside, you have two other young guys, Anthony Pittman and Drew Doughty.
Drew Doughty is another smart player, got a lot of ability. I call him, we talk about him, we had a young man here a few years ago, Jordan Miller, who I thought was a pretty good player. I said he's a more athletic Jordan Miller. He has the ability to play. I think he has the ability to play all three positions with his size. The sky's the limit for him. You get a chance to watch what he does on offense as an offensive player in high school, and then you get a chance to watch him on defense. He has a ton of potential, a ton of ability. He was a really good get for us, and I was happy he's coming here.
Just looking at his stats, it always seemed like he was around the football.
He's around the football, and he was at a program where they made sure that he touched the football and put the ball in his hand. And to see what he could do with the ball in his hand on the offensive side makes me excited if he ever gets his hands on the ball on the defensive side, what he can do. But he's a kid that, he's a kid from Jackson. He's coming here, and he's going to have a little growing pains, a little bit being away from home. He is really close with his mom and dad, but I expect a lot of big things out of that kid. He, like I said, he could be one of those guys that fall into that mix.
Mm-hmm. And then Anthony Pittman's the other signing that we had. So you had quite a recruiting class here.
Yeah, Anthony Pittman to me is on the lines of Drew Doughty. Big kid who could run, has a lot of natural instincts. And one of the things about about Pittman is he really didn't play linebacker until his senior year. And to see him run, see him hit, and see his natural instincts getting to the ball had me fired up. I think he's going to be a good kid. Like I said, he could also fall into that mix just because of his size, being a bigger kid.
Well, it sounds like camp's going to be very interesting for you as you try to figure all this out.
Yeah, the camp is going to be interesting, but one of the things is, I'm very confident in myself, and I'm very confident in what I've been teaching. And you have guys like Marcel, Norris, that have been around me for 4 or 5 years that know how I am and know how to talk to those guys, and they're going to be a big part of making sure that whoever the young guy is that is going to get called up or going to have an opportunity to play as a true freshman will know what they're doing, because those guys will be on their heads to make sure that they're on top of everything.
So they'll be key in mentoring the young guys.
Yes.
Well, great. Well, thank you for watching this edition of the Warrior Football Positions, and stay tuned for further editions.